Hey everybody, Craig Cottle, Director of Nature Blind School. 20 knives, 20 knots in 20 minutes. The camera lady's going to keep me on track. My favorite is at the end. Let's go! The LT Wright Overland Machete. Coming in at around 19 inches long, 1075 steel, micarta handle. This has been a workhorse, and this one has bit me. Putting it back in the sheath one day, I cut myself as I was doing some wildlife habitat improvement. I love keeping this in the toolbox. I've got another one I keep on my ATV, so I've always got one that's handy and ready to use. Powell hitch, easy to put on and easy to take off. Take a bite in your rope, wrap it around a post or a tree that has a top that you can reach over. Take it underneath the two pieces and then up and over and cinch it down. This makes for a great anchoring for a lot of things that you can now utilize this portion of the rope to tie. The LT Wright Genesis. This blade right here is famous, you all. This particular one. Got a Scandi grind, micarta handle. I'm not really sure what the steel is on this one as it's not stamped. This knife has, well, number one, I carried it myself for several years. It's also been in Field and Stream, Outdoor Life, American Survival Guide, Backwoods Survival Guide, several of my books. It's even been on TV, you all, and used by Special Forces in my classes. Love it. 2 half hitches. Take your working end around the tree or post or whatever you're tying to. You can tie this to anything. Take one piece under and down through that hole. Take the working end again under and down through that hole, and then cinch this up. This makes for a good anchoring system for bushcraft gear, packs, all sorts of things. The Gary Wines Bushcrafter. Man, this is a great blade. I picked this one up in trade. It's got a fantastic point on it, Scandi grind, micarta handle. I love the butt end on this one. So it's a little bit more squared off rather than rounded, which I like for some of the work that I do. It's been a really good workhorse in class. It gets picked up and utilized a lot. Bow line. Take a loop so that it crosses over. Take your working end up through that hole, around that end, and then back through. Pull this tight. To check this, this piece should not slide. It should be stable right there. All right, so this is a GNS in mountain finish. That's one of the reasons I want to show it. This mountain finish is just fantastic. It makes for an exceptionally strong grip because it conforms to your hand when you grip it tight. In my mind, that makes it for a tool that's going to last for a very long time in your hand, as well as a fighting tool if you ever want to use it for something of that nature. So this is a fantastic blade. Got that similar handle as we've seen before, just a different finish on it. So check that out with that. I believe that's a saber grind. Version 2 of the bow line, same thing right here, except I've just wrapped around my tree first. I'm saying bow line because bow of a boat and line is the more proper term for this particular apparatus here, not rope. Keep in mind this also, you can tie around an apparatus like this, or the way I did it before, just hook that on a hitch, and this will tie easily and untie easily. All right, you LT Wright super fans are going to love me and hate me for this one. I believe this is the Trekker. I'm not sure about that, but check this out. It's got the Pout House stamp on it. This is a great blade. When I went to the headquarters and designed the Sham and E, LT pulled this one out, said he loved this design. It's real close to the smaller version of the Sham and E. I absolutely love this tool. Overhand loop, start with a bite, wrap it back on itself, and then pull that bite back through. This is a very quick and easy way to put a loop in to hold gear, to grab hold of, to grab things. Just keep in mind that as you pull tension, this gets tighter and becomes harder to untie with lots of tension. I would call this one, in slang terms, a gentleman's workhorse. This is the Coyote, you all. Beautiful tool. You could carry this on a daily basis as an EDC, in my opinion. Doesn't take up much space in your belt. You could carry it in your pocket if you wanted to with a little Kydex or even leather. Be a fantastic everyday carry blade to do whatever you wanted to do throughout the day, and you would look sharp carrying it. Timber hitch. Take your working end around your tree, wrap it on the standing end of your rope, create this eye right here. See this eye? Create that. And then take this piece and wrap it around a good 4 or 5 times. Put that on the back side of the tree that you're going to be pulling from, and you have a timber hitch. Again, a fairly useful bushcraft survival anchoring system. You can also utilize this to pull trees through the woods and logging, or with an ATV or a tractor, and it comes off super easy. All right, you all, so this is the next gen, and this brings up a good topic. I make no apologies that my knives have been used a lot. The first video I did with LT Wright, I utilized this on a ferro rod, and it's got a high flat grind on it. It is a fantastic tool for carving, in my estimation. We've got a better knife coming up for carving in a minute, but this will carve well, cut well, baton if you need it to, cut up the steak, cut up some squirrel, do whatever you need to. Great blade. Trucker's hitch starts with an anchor, as we showed you before. You create an overhand loop that I showed you before. Take your working end back through, create a bite right here, pull that tight. Then pinch that. After you pinch that, I'm basically tying 2 half hitches right here with that bite. Ridge line can be used to tie down lumber, hay on the farm, canoe on your vehicle, grab it to pull trees down. Fantastic setup, trucker's hitch. This is the Bush Baby HC. One of the things that stands this knife out is the patina that they put on these things. I absolutely love that patina and the way it looks. Just for comparison, this is the next gen as far as sizing. You can see the Bush Baby is just slightly smaller, going to fit really well in the hand. I think this knife, well, I don't think, I know because I've used it for this, is a great little carving knife, particularly for setting up traps and stuff of that nature. Let's make a figure 8 on a bite. So basically double your rope back on itself. This is the bite. Take it behind and then in front and then back through that hole. And you'll have your figure 8 loop. This is great for fastening things, for survival and bushcraft. Keep in mind, under tension, this gets extremely tight, makes it hard to untie. Here you have the Patriot. Check out this little dude. This is coming in right out there, about 5.5 inches. I think this would make a fantastic fixed blade pocket knife. You can wear it on your belt too. Another EDC knife that would make, you know, a gentleman's knife, but also, we don't talk about this enough, a good farming knife. Carry it on your belt, have it in the toolbox on the tractor or on your ATV to get those knife tasks done on the farm. Clove hitch number 1, where you can go over top of the post, create a loop, create another loop, put the second loop behind the first, put that over top of your post or tree, truck hitch, whatever it is, and pull tension. This is the small Northern Hunter, and I gotta admit, if I'd had this knife in my hand before I designed the Sham and E, I might not. I know this is different, but I love this knife. I've utilized it a lot for processing small game, processed a deer with it one time. It's a fantastic tool. This is ABL. This has the glossy micarta handle, makes it really smooth in the hand. Work with it all day long. Clove hitch number 2, take your working end around, wrap it on top, bring it around again, wrap it on the bottom. That piece right there that I just created with my finger, I bring everything back through there, cinch it up, clove hitch number 2, and on all clove hitches, you can secure them with a couple of half hitches to make it a little more stout. This is from the Les Stroud collection. This is the foraging tool. It's a fantastic blade. I love this thing. You can utilize this end down here almost like a little shovel, and then the sharpened edge that you see on the bottom, you can utilize that to cut foraging items. I use it a lot for digging up cattails and preparing cattails for both food and mats and stuff like that. Micarta handle, beefy, good to hang on to. You're gonna love it. 2 lines, you need to join them together, lay them next to one another. Take one, literally wrap it around the first. You can do this one time to get done what you need to done. Take the other one, wrap it around, and then pull these 2 together. To make this more secure, make 2 wraps. But for most survival and bushcraft uses, this will get her done. Fisherman's knot. Here we have the Bushcrafter. with black micarta, which I don't have a lot of knives with black micarta on them, but they always look sharp. This one doesn't get used as much. I'm either utilizing the smaller, like the Next Gen or the Bush Baby or the Genesis when I'm using a tool about this size, but man, our students love utilizing this tool. It's a great one. Constructor Knot, this is a great one because you can do this in the middle of a line. On a post this big, it's going to need to be pretty big. Create a really big loop and then take the front of the loop and bring it up, and the back of the loop and bring it up, and bring those two together. Then you take that up and over, and you can see the constrictor right here. It's going to hold fast to that post. So this is the Puko. You can't pick up a better carver than this. Look at this fantastic ergonomic design. One of the blades that you can put in your hand and work with it all day long to carve, do bushcraft tasks. I utilize this knife as much as anything else when I was writing my latest book called Wild Woodcraft. Very pleased with how well this worked out for those tasks. You're going to love it. Alpine Butterfly. Take your line, lay it on your hand, wrap it around once, twice, 3 times. Then take the right side, place it in the middle. Then take the new right side, pull it all the way through where your hand just vacated, and then pull the tension. Make sure it stays dressed and pretty. Alpine Butterfly. Here's a little piece of history before the current LT Wright handcrafted knives. This is actually a blind horse knives when LT was working and overseeing that crew. This is a fantastic tool. It's particularly used, most people use this as a skinning tool with these bellies. I actually prefer to skin with the back of a knife so that I don't cut into the meat and get too much meat on the hide, because I used to work a lot of hides, but this is a really good tool. Similar to the Alpine Butterfly, this is the farmer's loop. So bring your piece to the left side, then bring it to the left, but then cross over the right. Then the piece you just took to the top, pull it through the middle and pull the back piece all the way through and cinch everything down. This is called the farmer's loop. It's a great way to secure rope. Let's say that this is injured in the rope. You can secure that off and continue to use your rope. It's a great way. All right, this next one you don't get to see very often, but this is a tactical Tonto, again, from the blind horse days. It's got some of this sculpted handle in here. This is more like a fighting tool as much as anything else. I wouldn't consider it a bushcraft tool, but you can use it for bushcraft. But I have utilized this a lot. I used to have it on my chest kit for when I'm doing tactical training and stuff of that nature, because it is very slimline and works well for that. Prusik, larger diameter than the piece that you're tying with. Sometimes I call this Mick Jagger's tongue. See his tongue right there? Lay it over the cordage, pierce his tongue once, pierce his tongue in the middle twice, and then in the middle again, and then pull all this to the point where it is pretty. And check these lines are parallel, slides when it needs to slide, and then if you pull the tail, it cinches but then loosens up again. That's a Prusik, named after Carl Prusik. Check this one out. I built this knife at LT Wright Knives during a knife grind class. One of the things I want to talk about is I had C coddle his knife on here. Back in frontier days, frontiersmen and explorers would put their name on their knives and their powder horns in case they were ever lost, or if they were killed and left in the woods and somebody found their body, they could identify who it was. Use the Van Zandt knot to tie your shoes so they don't come untied. Wrap it once, twice, cinch that down, cross them over, then take the piece on the bottom, create a bite, send it down through that hole. Take the piece on top, create a bite, pull it up through that hole, then cinch these two pieces down. Now your shoes won't come untied. Here's another GNS, but I wanted to show this one because I've utilized this for a lot of magazine articles and YouTube videos where I take marker and I'll mark the blade when I'm going to teach somebody how to sharpen. We do this in class as well. This is a great tool to be able to utilize this Scandi grind. For some reason, people find Scandi grinds, in my opinion, easier to sharpen than others. So mark it up with a marker, then sharpen, and you'll have a good reference point for making sure it's sharp. TLine Hitch, great one to use when you're pulling tension this way on a tarp. Wrap this around your stake or your tree or whatever you're pulling tension on. Wrap it around and through that hole, around and through that hole again, and then around above the hole. Get that cinched. Basically, you created another half Prusik. Now you can loosen tension or pull tension and it'll hold. Definitely got a very sentimental knife for me here. This is the Sham and E, the prototype that was first made, the very first one. This is the one I carry and utilize almost every day. Some things about this one that are interesting is the handle is a little bit thinner than the Shaman E that we sell. Again, this is a prototype. This is what I like, but when I put it in other people's hand, they wanted something a little thicker. This is ABL with a saber grind, burlap micarta. I currently have some sandpaper handle tape on here because my guys do that, and I want to see what it's like. I don't know if I like it yet or not. All right, not a knot, but a great way of storing cordage. So I leave the tail on that side of my thumb, and then I wrap back and forth over and under, creating basically an 8 there to wrap this cordage up. When I get to the end, I secure everything with a couple of wraps right here. Real simple like. Pull that through. Everything's held in place. And then when I need it, I grab that original tail and everything just comes out in my hand. You know, I really don't know what's the best-selling knife at LT Wright Knives. I've never asked them, and I really don't care because they make all sorts of good blades. But in my mind, the Genesis is just everything you need. I wanted to show you a more newer-looking Genesis in this case instead of that old one that I showed you before. Again, I love this little sculpting right here for your thumb. Micarta handle. This particular one is A1 or A2 steel with a Scandi grind. Pretty blade. Again, not a knot, but a great way to store long rope. We got about 100 feet right here. Just double it back on itself a couple of times to where you get a usable hank, and then you cross over itself and then pull from the bottom over and over and over again until you get to the end. And then to secure it, you pull the end all the way through. You got a daisy chain. Then the beauty is, take that off, and again, everything comes apart real quick like. Last one, no surprise, Shaman E, designed by me, built by LTWK. This is natural micarta handle. This is A2 steel, flat grind, made at the request of a lot of people. We're going to be pushing these out through a couple of vendors. I won't be selling these. I'm going to be selling the ABLs in the near future. So check it out, the Shaman E. You're going to love the history of this one. Our last knot is probably the coolest knot you can share at a bushcraft gathering the next time you go. Check it out. Take a nice straight piece of cordage, line, something of that nature like this. And here's what's key. Find your state tree wherever you're located. Here in Kentucky, that's the Liriodendron tulipifera, the tulip poplar, yellow poplar. And here's what's important. Take your hank of rope, put it in one hand and make a figure 8. One hand. Figure 8 once, twice, and then 3 times. And then smack that against the tree. And what you'll end up with is a figure 8 knot. How about that for flexing some bushcraft knowledge today? 20 knives, 20 knots in 20 minutes. Thanks for joining me. Check out the comments below and leave for me, because I'm going to be reading your favorite LT Wright handcrafted knife, your favorite knot, and have fun with it.